Okay, so now we're going to do this again. Oh, that was a ultra fail. I had, let me just, you're back. This is awesome. Thanks. So sorry about that. I clicked the, I don't know what happened. My internet cut out and then the stream failed and I had to start again. So hopefully everyone is here. But let me just send a few messages. In the description. Yay. Cool. So, oh, cool. We've got a couple of people coming through. Yes. So what I'm going to do, there's a bunch of questions on Reddit, on World Road, on Scroll Hub, on Spacebattles, that I'm just going to basically go through and answer them all because you've all sort of asked me a bunch of stuff. It's been crazy. I didn't realize, or I didn't think that I would get this many people actually reading my book. I think in the last, across all the different platforms, maybe had like 30 or 40,000 views in like, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks, which is crazy. And I guess that's not including Reddit, because Reddit I seem to get about 2,000 people, 3,000 people reading each chapter that I release. So yeah. But anyways, I'm going to kick off, and if you see anyone commenting in that other stream, can you just send them a message? I wonder, can I live chat it? No. There a chat? No, there isn't. Hopefully people will see this, but and as I'm going to go through things, feel free to ask questions. So the first question on the list was about the book cover. So to be honest, this was the first book cover I ever made for it, and it was actually called Seeding Worlds. And after talking, you can see it's a lot thinner, this version of the book. Okay, you can see it's a lot thinner, this version of the book. But after talking to my family who aren't really into sci-fi, I realized how the word seeding sort of connotes something slightly different. And then we changed it to the word seeds, which again, a slightly thicker book, it still didn't capture the magic. And seeds, even though if you know sci-fi, kind of makes sense, a seedship. But if you don't know that, it can come off as a book about planting. But anyways, the other thing I didn't like about this cover was it just felt very stock, stock image. But it was good actually just seeing what I needed to do in terms of formatting on the inside. So this was the first one. Am I going to do part 2 of Elon Musk Force Principles? Maybe. I did that years and years ago. So that was the first book. That was the second example of the cover page. And then I started playing around with Midjourney and having a little play with building worlds. And I came up with this, which is a lot more sort of sci-fi-y. You can see the sort of world there, the sort of, what is it, the line coming up. I don't know if I've got a couple of examples, but you can always see, like in most sci-fi books, you've always got, it seems like you've got a planet, you've got some sort of flashing light, and then you've got a spaceship there. So that's what I effectively tried to do. I actually to the library and got like 50 sci-fi books and just had them all up, lining up to kind of steal ideas from and steal inspiration from. And it's crazy how similar they are. They all have a planet, some sort of flashing light, and a spaceship. And so then I moved on to this one, and you can see the name change, Leaving Mars, which sort of connotes a bit more mystery, which I quite liked. So we started off with that, and you can see the beginning opening chapter. This is when I actually wrote the new opening chapter, which everyone's would have read by now, and it's all about leaving Mars. But I felt the problem with sort of leaving Mars is it's a kind of a great escape sort of novel rather than a one about truly sort of exploring the universe and exploring the galaxy. And so, and actually, I sent this off to my mum, and my mum had a little play around with designing me a cover, and as just fortuitously, she put as a subtitle, "Building a New Eden," and that's when we came up with that book name, A New Eden. And so you can see here sort of a bit more improvement. You've still got the planet, the shooting light, the spaceship, and then the title. And then I sort of would rate a million different examples of that, but you can see I went through a gazillion, and this ain't even the ones that, this ain't even half of them, before sort of finally ending up with this as my sort of final that you will see once it's confirmed. But that should be, we should be publishing this in February maybe. If I'm lucky, I'll get it done December. But yeah, February seems like the current plan. So you can see here, beautiful planet, flashing lights, a spaceship, nice title, nice quotes, the spine of the book, and then a little blurb about the book. So that is, I guess, the cover and the evolution of the cover. So yeah, any questions on those before I go on? Oh, actually, just real quickly, where is every, like, can you comment? I know people are a little bit shy sometimes, but can you comment just where you're from in the little chat? You didn't know I was an author until now. That is cool. Well, it's funny then. So you're not even here because of reading my book on my. That is so good. So you came. Okay. So that makes sense. So you're from obviously when I was doing a bit more YouTubey videos. So actually, so I'll come on to answer the next question, which is where did I come up for the idea for the book? It was actually when I was reading the Bobiverse. So this book is basically the Bobiverse, which is about von Neumann probes. When I was reading the Bobiverse, so this book is basically the Bobiverse, which is about von Neumann probes, sort of exploring the galaxy, the Milky Way. And just about their journeys and what they sort of encounter and the mysteries they have over there as they sort of travel around. And then this book, Children of Time, is about terraforming the planet and making the planet habitable and some of the challenges that come up with that. And I think this book, Adrian does really well at creating truly aliens, different from completely different from humans. And so I thought, what if you had a book about exploring the galaxy, but where they had some fun and they tried to terraform and create new worlds. And so that is exactly where I came up with the idea for the book. And so, oh, cool. We've got people from London. Oh, it's what is it? 10 p.m. I think for you. Australia, nice, 2 hours behind. But yeah, so I guess that's the summary of how I came up with the book. I originally wrote it, the first scene in the book, nice, Buffalo, New York. The first scene in the book, Buffalo, New York. The first scene in the book is actually of Trillian Great Guring the planet. I thought it would be. I actually came up with that scene first. It was the first thing I ever wrote, and that was basically I just thought it would be funny if, through utter stupidity, a character went in just Great Guring the planet and just completely turned it into a bunch of fabricators. And so yeah, that's where I came up with it. And then it's funny actually because obviously people love that chapter. That was chapter 11, I think it is where like my comments blow up. Basically, as soon as I released that chapter, like the comments and things went sort of crazy, and that's from there. That's where I sort of ended up rising up the Royal Roads Rising Stars list to sort of get a whole bunch of views. But if you look at all the different platforms that I've got released it on, it's all like chapter 11. Boom, people just crack up. I find there's two types of people. One, people who find it funny intellectually and like the take on it, and then there's other people who hate the idea of a character destroying it and utterly destroying a planet, and then and then they end up not liking the book as much, and they don't like Trillian. But then later on, those people tend to like Icarus a lot more. So yeah. So question, are the chapters we're voicing currently full chapters, or are they snippets of each chapter? No, you are voicing, so you're literally voicing chapters each year. So just so everyone knows, there's a couple of people in here who are doing some voice acting, which I'm gonna share. I've already got one example and it's great. But yeah, they're doing some voice acting for the book, and I'm gonna release them, and so everyone can have a look. It's quite good. One, hearing them voice the different characters, which I love, and then the second one I quite like is just the acting involved in it. Like one of the guys who voices it, actually the main characters are running, and he does it so well, and they actually sound puffed, which I find amazing. He jumps from being a narrator, not sounding puffed, to like the characters being puffed, and I think that was quite cool. So I've actually, my book, at least the first 11 chapters are going to be narrated by some different people, and I'll release them out as they sort of come, as people as the voice actors are happy with them. But yeah, it'll be quite cool, and I'd love to get, I'm sure they'd love to get your feedback as well on the book and on their voice acting skills. So top two questions done. How did I come up with the name Lex? Lex is actually, I had a horrible name. Lex is actually, I had a horrible name for Lex actually in the beginning. It was Stella, I think, or something else. And I had to do a sort of control F and replace to switch them out. And I actually named him Lex after, I don't know if you know Lex Friedman on the Artificial Intelligence podcast. So I mean, yeah, I've watched his interviews, but he is a robot. He literally sounds like a robot, and so that's where I thought it would be funny. I mean, he's like a really smart guy, which is probably quite similar to Lex. Yeah, so that's where the name Lex came up with. Came up with the name for Lex. In actual fact, Lex in the first draft could speak, but what I found was there wasn't enough differentiation between Ship and Lex, and they were starting to sound the same and fill the same role. And I thought, okay, let's make one character, I guess, just mute, but very data driven and very hates uncertainty, which is Lex. And then let's make another one able to talk and able to sort of understand, translate, or read the code that Lex is trying to explain, but just just lazy as fuck. And I guess I made Chip lazy because I don't know if you've read this part, so this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but there's a conversation in there where they talk about how if a chip is curious and not lazy, they are more likely to take risks and risk hurting their occupants. But having a ship that is innately lazy and doesn't really want to do much will be more likely to basically get you from A to point B without, wanting to explore some other things or change the mission or do anything else. And so that's where I made Chip basically just want. I mean, if it was up there, we basically leave, start the mission, and then just sleep for most of it, checking in, making sure the ship's fine, and then arriving at the destination. You'll see, you'll sort of see when they encounter the Dottians, that he is very passionate about protecting his crew, and so he absolutely loves his crew and will do anything for them. So that's where he really goes into gear. But otherwise, he's a lazy AI. How did I come up with the name Atlas? My son's name is Atlas, so I don't know which one came first. But yeah, what other things? Pete, you've read the whole book. Oh yes, Metaverse Video Content. How did you come up with this? The Betaverse concept I loved. The Betaverse actually came up with, I was kind of doing a what if scenario. So I thought, what if Mark Zuckerberg's PR department was like, we need to get people out of the real world and into the metaverse. And Mark Zuckerberg's like, okay, what can we do? What can we do? And being sort of, I don't know, robot himself, he would have started to call, him and his PR department would start to call the real world the beta version of the metaverse, the test ground. And then I could imagine them sort of just pitching that hard, putting it in the newspaper, starting to spread the word, and then after a certain amount of time, people starting to call the real world the beta version. And it kind of makes sense, because in the real world, I can't fly, but if I uploaded my mind, or if I started to jump into a simulation, I can fly, I can do a lot of other stuff. And as you'll sort of see in the book, you can see the characters responding to that, starting to, Icarus in particular, trying to embrace the idea of being a simulation. And you can see sort of Atlas holding back and not really wanting to embrace the idea. And so you can see them starting to do different things and respond to situations differently. Icarus wanting to, go hard with being a simulation, and Atlas still wanting to be sort of old school, pen and paper sort of guy. So yeah, that was a little tangent, but how did I get into writing? Did I study in uni? Nope. I studied psychology and marketing. Actually thought I wanted to be a psychologist. And so yes, I studied psychology, studied marketing, and then I'm head of growth for my day job, head of growth of a software company, and second job is looking after Atlas, and then third job is nights and weekends writing. It actually took 3 years to do this one. So yeah, it's been a hard and long journey, but I think so far I've been. I was a little bit nervous when I was first going to release it out into the public, and I haven't told many friends. The response on people, like with people online, like I've had, I think it's like across the different platforms, maybe 100 reviews. Some of them really in depth and detailed, and the average score is 4.7 out of 5, which is pretty crazy good. I guess the crux of the feedback is they love the story, love where it's going, they love the ideas, and yeah. So what I'm going to do now is get it edited and then publish it. I want to try and publish it. Well, depending on how quickly I can get it edited. But yeah. Next question: how did I come up with the haptic graphic elephants and Betaverse idea? I've already discussed Betaverse, haptogram. I don't know if you the first name for haptographic haptogram was a touchable hologram, which was really shit. Sorry, excuse my language, but not a good name. And I was, I guess, just playing with my phone, remembered about the haptic engine, that thing where you push it and it feels like it's actually a button. And then I kind of started to play around with haptic, and I originally had haptic hologram, and then haptic holo, and then I realized actually haptogram. And that's how it kind of, I mean, it sounds really linear as I describe it like that, but that was over maybe a month of constantly editing and changing the name. In one part of the book, I call it one thing, another part I call it another thing. But I don't really want to call it haptogram because as someone asked whether I would want to call it that, I think it's too far removed from, a haptic. If you know what a haptic engine, you can kind of guess what a haptogram is. But with hapti, it's a bit ambiguous. So yes, that's why I like that. Can you tell us about book 2? Ooh. There's been a lot of people who've kind of guessed in the comments of where the book's going, and some of them are right. So some of those people are absolutely right. This series is going to be a trilogy. So book 1 is A New Eden. Book 2 is called A New God, and I won't spoil book 3 yet. But yes, it's going to be a trilogy. I think I don't know if I'll do more than that. I think a nice complete, there's a few arcs I want to sort of complete over the series of 3 books. I think that'll be it. So hopefully everyone here stays to the end and really enjoys it. And yes, hopefully it won't take me 3 years to finish. No, I don't think it'll take me 3 years to do it. I am a better writer than when I first started. Even it's funny when you go back and when I was editing some stuff that I went first, it was just shockingly bad. And then when I was editing some of the stuff that I did last, I was like, actually, yeah, it's a lot easier. I mean, I've still got a little learning to do. I've still got a lot to come. But I think as you become a better author and a better writer, you just naturally get faster. Hey, Philip, are you still on there, by the way? Can you explain the fast and light communication in chapter 8? Yeah, sure, of course. So FTL communication. So in the book, I needed a way, I wanted a way to show that the Cure Atlas was really intelligent. So in the book, he does a science experiment. And basically, he does a sort of science experience with entangled particles. And they're in the True experiment, the way I've described it in the book is absolutely correct. If you had one side do an interference pattern, the other is that you only notice those interference patterns when you bring the data back together. But yeah, if you want to chat about that, we can chat later. I think let's just keep it high level because I think this is that will bore a lot of people. That is actually the most divisive chapter out of all the chapters that people have read in the book. It's full on just a character doing a science experiment, which is, if you're not interested in science and that sort of stuff, it would be a little bit boring. But what I was trying to build was a sense that Atlas is really smart and really good at inventing stuff and figuring stuff out. And I want to sort of show his thinking process. And I wanted to sort of establish that early in the book so that later on, when I get Atlas to just wave a magic wand, as it were, to create some of the stuff, it is so much more believable. And so that's basically part of the reason why I did that. I wanted to basically establish Atlas as up, and then that way you don't have to go through a science experiment again. Are you going to see more of Icarus jumping through the asteroid belt? Yeah, Icarus just likes to have fun. He is going to have fun, and there's some fun stuff coming. How did I climb up the Rising Stars ranking so quickly, especially for a sci-fi book? I don't know. I think, to be honest, I think a big part of it has been the fact that people who like sci-fi are keen to support good sci-fi books. So I've had so much love. You know, so much love. The amount of other authors that have just sent me a message saying, "Hey, look, I've just done a shout out for you on my book." It's just been incredible. I've got, yeah, it's just crazy. Because that website does not traditionally do well for sci-fi books. It's traditionally a fantasy, hardcore fantasy website, but to climb up to sort of the 17th most popular in the Rising Star, you know, people are going to love the book when they can actually buy it. Actual fact, if you do buy the book, get the physical version, because I spent a lot of time making sure it looks nice. If you do it, I'll send you the digital. I love your take on grey goo. How did you come up with that idea? I don't know if you've ever read Super Intelligent by Nick Bostrom. So that was where I came up with the idea for it. And so I was, I think, reading it a little. I'd read it ages ago, and I'd always thought it would be so cool to do a story with someone grey gooing a planet or paper clipping a planet. And that was my sort of take on it. I wanted it to be less serious and less focus on the like, oh, like this is bad, and more like, oh, I'm embarrassed. I'm like Trillian just scared to let anyone know and worried about stuff of the book, because it will finish before December. If not, it'll probably be February. I want to release it in February at the latest. How does Icarus drink coffee with a beak? So I had a couple comments where people were saying, like, because I established quite early on that he loves coffee. I also established that he is a anime style duck. My answer to that is they live in a simulation. It's a simulated world. You can see when he talks about the algorithm set up properly so that he's actually tasting the coffee, and so as he progresses, he'll evolve. And so yeah, so it's a simulation. I feel duck probably couldn't drink coffee. Oh yeah, and this is why did Trillian strip mine a planet and not take all the resources? I would say that she's just new. She's inexperienced. Like, they left the planet way too early. They were not ready to leave, and so yeah, it makes sense that she would. I mean, one, make a mistake like strip mining the planet or grey gooing it, and two, that she wouldn't be thinking in terms of, I need a bunch of resources. She's probably thinking, actually, I can get this wherever I go, and if I, try and organize and take as much of these resources as I can with me, it'll just slow me down, and you can see in her, she has a massive desire and a strong pull to go and colonize and see the world, and so she's going to do that. So yeah, I've sort of rushed through all of the questions that I've had so far. Thank you so much for everyone who came in, and sorry about the mistake with the live stream. I'm glad we got this one to work. Hopefully everyone figured it out, and well, not figured it out, but hopefully everyone saw in the comments that I posted the new link, which is good. No. Perfect. By the way, can everyone? Oh, something just coming through. Can everyone just one more time, if you haven't posted, can you just let me know where in this world you are? Because I'd love to read those and find out exactly where people are reading my book. But yeah, thank you so much, team, and enjoy.